everybody out there in YouTube land. It's Richard Roy 2 once again bringing to you a series of answers from Veritas48's 5 questions. Veritas48, if you've never heard of him before, you should go check him out. He's an interesting fellow. He's been around for a while, and he is a theist. A very thoughtful theist, in my opinion. Though I don't know him that extensively, I haven't really watched him in great depth over all this time. He's been around for a couple of years on YouTube. But as I say, I think he's a thoughtful atheist, thoughtful theist, and I find his questions interesting. And I've listened to some of the answers from other people, and I then find the answers, well, one person came close. I haven't listened to all of them, but one person had come close to an answer of mine. But anyways, basically, here it goes. We're going to see what the questions are, and I'll try to answer them the best I can.
So the first question, it's pretty basic, and I'm sure it's one that you've all been asked before in some form or fashion. However, when I ask it, I'm not trying to set it up as a sort of gotcha question, okay? The question is, if when you die, right, you find yourself in a place of judgment in front of God, and it ends up being the case that all those pesky Christians were right all along, what would your first statement be to God? If you could choose anything to say to God at that point, what would it be and why?
Okay. Good question. The Christians were right. I've discovered this through some means. And I'm standing before God. What's the first thing I say to him? Well, there's a question that comes to my mind that I've had since I was a kid, you know, when I started getting the idea of this fear of God stuff and everything, and it came down to the point where I really wanted an opt-out thing. I really didn't want to be in this game. I didn't want to be in this play. And my question would be, I would have a question to the sake of, what's so indispensable about my existence that he couldn't have opted out of creating me in the first place? Why couldn't I have not been made? The other question I have is, why didn't you create an equal? Now, the reason I say this is because on the first part, why create me? I mean, what's so indispensable about me? I'm not that important to God. I mean, God's all powerful. He can do anything he wants to, right? He's omniscient, omnipotent, benevolent. Okay, well, we're not going to go into that part. But if anything is possible to him, why me? I mean, I don't have to be here, right? I'm not important to anything that has to do with God. Why is he so fired up about having me around that he had to create me? Well, why do this to anybody? I wouldn't want to make somebody and then force him into some sort of you know, process that I designed. You got to do this, you got to be that, you got to follow these instructions, and you got to do it without knowing that it's of any value, of any kind. And it just strikes me as baffling. I just don't understand that sort of process. So yeah, well, why create me? Why couldn't you just say, oh, skip this one, he wouldn't want to be around anyway? Instead of saying, oh, we're going to make him, we know he's going to be really hateful about existing, and he's going to have all kinds of problems because after he's dead, he's going to go down and he's going to suffer for eternity in hellfire or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's already known, right? God's already knowing everything that's going to happen. So, what's the point? Unless God's vindictive, I can't see the point. Why make me? The other part, why didn't you create an equal? I don't understand why you didn't create an equal. If you want to have discussion with somebody as company, even somebody to enjoy, why not have an equal? Why create something lesser? Why would I have to create something so for lack of a better term, stupid, that it wouldn't be impressed by something that I did. Why? Why make me? Or why make something that stupid that, I have to make something, I'm going to do something, it's not that important, not that brilliant, not that impressive to me. But, maybe if I make something that it would be impressive to, that would be fun, just to see the gosh, and everything like that on their face. What's the point, really? Okay, let's go on to point 2.
The second question is, again, something that you've all probably been asked quite a bit, but I want to have my shot at asking it too, okay? What sort of evidence would you find sufficient for you to abandon atheism and become a believer in God? Not particularly Christianity per se, but just God, like a general sort of theism. Would it be physical evidence, like a burning bush or maybe a booming voice from the sky? Or would you still be skeptical at that point and require more evidence? So what I'm trying to ask is, what's the type of evidence that for you would warrant theistic belief, and what degree would make it sufficient?
Okay, you get into a bit of a can of worms thing with this one. What sort of evidence would you find sufficient? I always get confused by this sort of thing, because to me, faith requires the acceptance of something without any kind of evidence. So, if you're looking for evidence, then you get the evidence, then aren't you then in the know? You know. You don't believe, you know. You don't have faith, you know. So, what's the point of evidence? Why should I need evidence in order to have faith? Why should I need evidence in order to accept something without evidence? Does it make any sense to you? I don't understand the question. I really don't. When it comes down to it, when it comes down to it, what I really wouldn't mind, is if God would, have a seat, let's talk for a while, okay? I'd really love to have a discussion with God. That would do a lot for me. Now, whether this God ends up being anyone that I'd ever have any reverence for or not afterwards is another matter. Are we talking about worship here? Or are we just talking about the acceptance that there is a God? I'm confused by the question. I really can't do much with it. Sorry. Thanks anyways for asking.